The rain came down like the sky had finally broken, pounding the empty road with a fury that felt personal, as if the world itself was crying out loud. Headlights cut through the gray curtain of water, shaking slightly as the old car moved forward, its windshield wipers fighting a losing battle. On that road, on that night, one small decision was about to change two broken lives forever, even though neither of them knew it yet. Before the story pulls you deeper, if you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in the quiet miracles that happen when people help each other without expecting anything back, take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to the channel. And tell us in the comments where you're watching from, because stories like this connect hearts across the world. Emily Carter gripped the steering wheel with tired hands, her shoulders heavy not just from the storm but from years of carrying everything alone. She was a single mother trying to survive in a world that never slowed down for grief or exhaustion. Her day had started before sunrise, packing lunches, tying shoelaces, reminding her son Noah to take his inhaler, and promising him she'd be home in time for dinner, even though she never really knew if that promise would hold. Life after her husband disappeared had turned into a constant balancing act between work, motherhood, and a quiet, aching search she had never truly given up on. As the rain worsened, Emily noticed a dark shape ahead on the side of the road. At first, she thought it was debris, maybe a fallen branch, but then the headlights revealed a man standing there, soaked, hunched, and waving weakly. Every sensible thought told her to keep driving. She had a child at home. She had responsibilities. She had learned the hard way that trusting strangers could be dangerous. But something about the man's posture, the way he seemed more defeated than threatening, made her slow down. Her heart argued with her fear, and her heart won. She pulled over, her car shuddering as it stopped, rain splashing up around the tires. The man approached carefully, water dripping from his hair and clothes, his face pale and exhausted. Emily unlocked the door, her pulse racing, and motioned for him to get in. The moment he sat down, the car filled with the smell of rain and cold, and the heavy silence of two strangers thrown together by fate. She asked where he was headed, and he gave her a nearby town name, his voice low and strained, as if speaking took more energy than he had left. As they drove, the storm wrapped around them, isolating the car in a moving bubble of sound and shadows. Emily noticed his hands trembling, not just from the cold, but from something deeper, something emotional. She offered him a spare jacket from the back seat, the one Noah kept for emergencies, and the man accepted it with a gratitude that felt almost painful to witness. There was something familiar about him, not in his face exactly, but in the heaviness he carried, the kind that only came from loss. Emily's thoughts drifted, as they often did during long drives, back to the past she never talked about. Years ago, her husband Daniel had left for what was supposed to be a short work trip. There had been a phone call filled with static, a rushed goodbye, and then nothing. No calls, no messages, no trace. Officially, he was declared missing, presumed dead. The world had told her to move on, to accept it, but her heart never fully did. She had searched quietly, following small leads, unanswered emails, old contacts, and rumors that led nowhere. Over time, hope had faded into something duller, something that hurt less but never truly went away. The man beside her stared out the window, rain streaking down. The glass like tears. Emily caught glimpses of his face in the passing streetlights, and each glimpse stirred an unease she couldn't explain. His profile felt hauntingly familiar, like a memory half buried. She told herself it was exhaustion playing tricks on her. Single mothers didn't have the luxury of chasing impossible thoughts. The road stretched on, the storm relentless, and somewhere between miles, the man's breathing grew uneven. Emily asked if he was okay, her voice tight with concern. He nodded but pressed a hand to his chest, his eyes closing briefly as if fighting something inside. Panic flickered in her. She had lost enough already, she couldn't let someone die in her passenger seat. She sped up, her focus narrowing to the road ahead and the silent prayer forming in her mind. They reached the town faster than she expected, pulling into the glow of a small, nearly empty gas station. Emily stopped the car and turned to check on him, and in that moment, under the harsh fluorescent lights, she finally saw his face clearly. Time seemed to slow, the sound of rain fading into a distant echo. The scar near his eyebrow, the slight curve of his nose, the way his eyes, even filled with pain and confusion, held a softness she knew better than her own reflection. Her heart slammed against her ribs as the impossible thought forced its way into reality. This man looked exactly like Daniel. Years of buried grief surged up all at once, threatening to drown her more than the storm ever could. Her hands shook as she reached out, touching his arm, half expecting him to vanish like a dream. He looked at her then, truly looked, confusion giving way to something else, something just as shocked. Memories seemed to flicker behind his eyes, fragments trying to reconnect. The truth came crashing down in waves too powerful to resist. This wasn't just a stranger she had rescued from the rain. This was the man she had been searching for all these years, without even knowing she was still searching. The story unraveled slowly, painfully. The accident, the injury, the months spent drifting between shelters and odd jobs, his memory fractured, his identity lost. He had lived as a ghost, unaware of the life he once had, unaware that somewhere a woman was raising their child alone, believing him dead but still loving him. Fate, cruel and beautiful at the same time, had placed him on that road on that stormy night, broken enough to need help, and placed Emily behind the wheel, strong enough to give it. Rebuilding didn't happen in a single moment. Trust had to be relearned. Wounds had to be reopened before they could heal. Emily brought him home, not to a perfect life, but to a real one, filled with late bills, tired laughter, and a little boy who stared at him with wide, uncertain eyes. Noah didn't understand everything, but he understood enough to feel that something important had changed. Slowly, cautiously, love found its way back into the cracks. Days turned into weeks, and the man who had once stood in the rain began to remember who he was. Daniel learned to be a father again, to hold his son, to show up, to stay. Emily learned that hope, no matter how fragile, could survive even the longest storms. Together, they faced the fear of losing each other again, choosing every day to move forward instead of looking back. Just before this story ends, take a moment and tell us in the comments what this story made you feel, because your words might be exactly what someone else needs to read today. Near the end of that long, painful road, Emily stood at the window one evening, watching the rain fall softly instead of violently, Daniel beside her, Noah asleep in the next room. The storm that had once nearly broken her had also given her everything back. Life was still imperfect, still uncertain, but it was full, and it was real. And sometimes, the miracle you're waiting for doesn't arrive with light or certainty. Sometimes it's cold, soaking wet, standing on the side of the road, waiting for someone kind enough to stop. If this story touched your heart, if it made you believe again in fate, kindness, and second chances, please like this video, share it, and stay connected with the channel. Your support keeps stories like this alive, and your engagement reminds us that even in the heaviest rain, humanity still shines.